Hi, it's Jen, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel, Dream Prague. In today's video, I just wanted to celebrate you, the commenters, and the subscribers to my channel. I only started this channel about 3-4 months ago, and even a few weeks ago, I only had about 500 subscribers, and last time I checked, it was over 13,000. Like, wow. Děkuju moc krát. And that's not even including those of you who come by the comments just to correct my Czech pronunciation. When I started this channel, my idea was actually to do it to help foreigners living in Prague. So to help them come up with other ways to learn Czech, or to help them get a visa, or to find a flat. And then I made a couple of videos about the differences between Czech culture and American culture, and a lot of Czechs showed up to chime in, so I'm really grateful for that. I find it really fascinating that Czechs would be interested in watching my channel. Maybe I'm helping you to get a different impression of Americans, unlike what you see in films, or maybe you just find me a little strange. Anyway, I'm super happy that you're here. I try to make one video a month in the Czech language, and my goal has never been to be perfect. My goal is just to force myself to use my Czech and put it out into the world. So I really appreciate when you give me tips, and I appreciate your patience with me because it is not an easy language. And a lot of you have commented that my Czech is really good for an American, but to be honest, it's really not that good. Like most things on the internet, I try to put the best of myself out there. So when I want to make a Czech video, I actually write a script, and so I look up a lot of words and phrases, and then I'll sit with my Czech teacher and we'll sort of figure out more natural ways to say something like a Czech would, and then I rehearse it and do it many times before I ever get in front of a camera. So even after all of that, you can still see how many mistakes I make. And then I get hundreds of comments in Czech, which is amazing, but it takes me a really long time to read and respond to. But I try to respond to you in the language that you wrote to me. I do want to keep making informative videos for English-speaking immigrants because that was my original plan, and I do have a lot of tips and tricks to give people. So I think I'm going to start adding shorter videos once or twice a month with tips for foreigners in Prague. So if you have a question about living here or even visiting here, write it in the comment section below and I'll be happy to make a video for you. So in today's video, I want to celebrate this little community that I've found down in the comment section. I'm really happy when you correct a mistake I've made, or give me advice, or just tell me that you're here watching the videos. It means a lot to me. But if you just came to tell me that all Americans are assholes, you can just move along. The United States is a big place. There's over 300 million of us, and we're not all the same. In fact, I probably have more in common with my Czech neighbor than I do with a lot of Americans. But on this channel, I like to celebrate what makes us a little different. First, what the heck is this? I've never seen it. It's like a specifically Czech smiley face. They're all over my comment section. So this is an American smiley face, and this is a Czech smiley face. And you accuse us of having big smiles on our faces all the time? Anyway, I think it's positive, so thank you. In this video about understanding some confusing things that Americans say when they come to Czech Republic, I spent almost 8 minutes making fun of myself, making fun of my compatriots, which all of my Czech viewers seem to agree with and find very amusing. I think all Czechs love self-deprecating humor, especially when it's an American doing it. Until I made this joke. Most Americans aren't brave enough to travel to Eastern Europe. Boy, did I kick a hornet's nest with that one. Immediately, I started getting tons of comments about how Czech Republic was not in Eastern Europe. That was the joke. And then I started getting some comments from Czechs who said, it's in Western Europe. No, it really is in Eastern Europe. One of the people in the comments dared me to say Czech was in Eastern Europe one more time. Roro Bitson said, se mi otevřela kudla v kapse. He felt his pocket knife open in his pocket when he heard me say Czech Republic was in Eastern Europe, like I was trying to pick a fight. And my favorite comment, Martin Kovář, summed up the Czech comments quite nicely when he said, so you have chosen death. apparently. So here is my explanation. Way back when I was in school, we're talking horse and buggy days, we were shown a map of Europe and there was very clearly an east and very clearly a west. It wasn't so much a geographical thing, it was a political ideology thing. And you know which side Czechoslovakia was on. And you might say, that's no excuse, that was 30 years ago. And I would say, yes, I'm really that old. But I know that you're in Central Europe. I mean, all you have to do is look at a map. You're dead center in the heart of Europe. No one is disputing that. It's just that geography is not Americans' strong suit. I mean, we have 50 states and I swear most people can't put them on a map. So Americans, if you come to Czech Republic, make the Eastern European joke at your own risk or get your pocket knife ready. In my video about the funny things about Czech culture, I got a lot of blowback. And that's fine, I'm here for it. So the first thing was babies in strollers. A lot of people commented that they'd never seen babies in strollers outside Czech restaurants. And yeah, it's definitely not that common, but I've seen it a few times and that is enough. When you're from the United States, this is a really, really strange thing. Maybe it's because we have so much crime. There have been news stories about women, of course women, leaving children in the park to play and the child was taken away. They reported this mother for neglecting her child, for just letting her child play in a park. So Americans are really hypersensitive about this. So when I see it happen 2 or 3 times, it's enough to mention in a video. But it's not as common as, say, in the Scandinavian countries. I think it's a lot more common there. Then I mentioned, jokingly, that you could whip your woman in the Czech Republic. Oh, Czechs. Where is that famously dark sense of humor you keep telling us about? Many of you insisted that this was not violent and it was all based in tradition, and that's true. The first time many foreigners hear about it, it's actually quite shocking until you see exactly what is happening. And I don't know if you've seen the news recently, but American women are a little prickly recently about men chasing them around with sticks. So just understand where we're coming from. Raspberry Biscuit says that in leap years, the roles can be switched and the women can whip the men. Is this true? I've never heard this before. Tommy Gun Kratas pointed out, is that a Czech name? Tommy Gun Kratas pointed out that the word pomlaska actually comes from pomladit, which means to make younger, and mlazi, which I think is like a newly grown stick of some sort. I didn't even know this. Thank you for telling me. This makes a lot more sense as I'm trying to explain what a pomlaska is and the whole tradition. Royal 8K sent 2 links of videos of the Easter tradition. One is a more recent one is a more traditional one. So if you're not Czech and you really want to understand the tradition and see how it's done, I'm gonna link those 2 videos below. So thank you, Royal 8K, for sending those in. Another thing that I mentioned in the video was that you could drink anywhere in Czech Republic on the streets. And a lot of you pointed out that that's not actually true. You can't drink at tram stops, at metro stops, at bus stops, and there are some areas in the center of Prague. They're trying to discourage stag parties and just open drunkenness, and I completely agree with that. I am not trying to encourage people to drink on the streets. But when you compare it with just how strict America is about alcohol, I mean, we can't even drink until we're 21. So you can see why, as an American, drinking is a lot more permissive than in our country. Jakub Prokeš posted a map of the places that it's illegal to drink in Prague, and I'll link that below. But on that map, you can see that it says it's illegal to drink in Jiřák, and I see people drinking all the time in Jiřák, so I don't know. I mean, it might be illegal, but people do it. Anyway, the point is, I did not mean to encourage foreigners to come here and drink on the streets. No siree bob. The great kale debate lives on. Many of you commented about what the real name for this vegetable was, and I think we've settled on kadržavek, which Google Translate says is Savoy cabbage, but it's not. So if you plug the kadržavek into Google Images, you'll get curly kale. And hot tip, if you're ever looking for something in the supermarket or a farmer's market, just Google image what you're looking for rather than trying to mispronounce something from Google Translate. So now we know the word, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily gonna find it. Sassafras666 says, if I can paraphrase in English, that only hamsters and a few bio-desperate people in the Czech Republic eat curly kale or Brussels sprouts. Normal people eat pork or duck. I don't know what bio-desperate people means, like dirty hippies or something, but seems to be the common remark from Czechs. Petr Šink says that his grandmother used to cook him really strong soup from kale and he had no idea that he was on the Hollywood diet his whole childhood. Petr, after eating all that kale, I bet you look just like Brad Pitt. In my video about odd things you see on the streets in Czech Republic, I was absolutely crucified in the comments for not knowing the rules of an uncontrolled intersection. But many of you instructed me how to properly drive at one of these intersections, and I really thank you for that, along with admonitions to get the hell out of a car if I don't know how to drive. Noted. But the harshest critic was actually the one sitting next to me.
You don't know how to drive in uncontrolled intersections?
I swear I learned that. I just forgot. My husband has taken away my keys until I've reviewed the rules of driving. Robin Shebalova put it most succinctly, and if you're planning on driving in the Czech Republic, listen up. So first, trams always have the highest priority. Second, pedestrians in crossings have priority, but they should take caution. They shouldn't just jump out in front of a car. And third, when driving, the car on the right has priority. Next, I would like to issue a heartfelt apology to the town of Dačice, which I mistakenly called Dalčice. This is the home of the sugar cube, which many of you pointed out. Thank you. Omlouvám se. Don't know how I got that wrong. ICWSI is from Dačice, and she said there's a museum dedicated to the sugar cube. So if you're in Dačice, definitely check it out. In my video, Americans jsou zvláštní, Americans are strange, many Czechs were horrified to find out that Americans wore their shoes inside and even on carpet. Some of them didn't even believe it. My favorite comment was from Connie Biergerova. From Connie Biergerova, I'm sorry. She says she thought Americans only wore shoes at home in the movies, which is just so funny to me because why would we do that in the movies? Just to gross out the rest of the world. Anyway. And in my video, Famous Czech Things, about things you didn't even know came from Czech Republic, everybody responded with lists of all these other things that came from Czech Republic and famous scientists and why wasn't this doctor in a video and how could you neglect this invention? And my response is, it was only a 12-minute video. Do you really expect me to put all of the brilliance that came out of Czech Republic into one little video? No. That's what this channel is for. So thank you for sending in these ideas. I love it because it gives me more things to investigate and to learn about and to share with you. The last thing I want to say is that, you know, like I said at the beginning, there are over 300 million Americans. We are not all the same. Czechs are clearly not all the same. But in order to make sort of a funny video, I kind of generalize sometimes. And I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. I hope no Americans take offense to me sort of making fun of us, and I certainly hope that no Czechs take offense at that. My goal is really selfish. My goal is to understand more about the Czech Republic, and then when I learn something, I share it with you, and then obviously to learn Czech better, and you guys are like an audience that gives me tips and tricks and things to work on when I speak Czech. So I'm just thrilled that you are here and that you are watching, and I just wanted to thank you. So that's all for now. See you next week. Uvidíme se příští týden. Ciao.